Velma is nowhere near as bad of a show as the reviews make it seem, is what I honestly want to say after watching the 4 episodes and trying to come into it with a positive mindset. Despite hearing every single bad thing about the show before going into it, I did find some positives, but truthfully speaking, if I was to say the show was good in any way, would be an utter, just lie. This show honestly made me feel like it just hated me for watching it and hated the characters that it was trying to portray in a new light. Not only does it went from saying, hey, Scooby-Doo, one of the biggest characters that are recognizable for this show, makes the show a kid's show, so we're not going to use it whatsoever, to saying, hey, what if we took all 4 of the characters that we're being forced to use because it's a Scooby-Doo show, and what if we just character assassinate all of them? Truthfully speaking, you can tell that the energy is going into the show from Mindy and the writers truly feels like she just didn't want to make a Scooby-Doo show. That she probably had a completely another show lined up to make. That they were like, hey, what if it's a Scooby-Doo adult show? To making Velma a truly hate-filled character who honestly not only has no redeemable qualities, but it makes it almost impossible to root for her as the main character of the story. Going from instant character growth to instantly stepping back. Where I could say it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back, but that would be an utter sham when it's 3 steps forward, 5 steps back, because this character just honestly cannot win me over whatsoever. And like I said, there are some good things about this show, but none of it follows the main plot, and none of it follows the main characters. Because honestly, they're terrible. Like, even if you were to take away the Scooby-Doo aspect of the show for me, it would still be a dumpster fire of a show. And again, that's not to say anything about it being a Scooby-Doo show. When I'm looking at it, I'm looking at, hey, this show's art, backgrounds, and background characters are honestly great, but the main characters drag it down so much that it can't get above a 3 for me in his actual character ratings. Like, it feels bad to watch this show. And that is something crazy for me. Someone who can honestly try to sit through any kind of bad anime, any kind of bad animation, any kind of bad full-length show. It was a struggle. And I'll be honest, every 25 minutes felt overly packed with too much information, too much stuff going into it that it hurt. But like I said, I wanted to find some good things to talk about the show, so I did make a list of both my positives and my negatives. And just starting it off, I have to talk about Norville. And to be honest, obviously, he is the opposite of Shaggy, but it's not a bad thing. Shaggy actually becomes one of the few likable characters in the main cast where he is actually intelligent. He's actually the one mystery solver. And yes, they made him a simp that's hard to root for, but again, he's not a bad character. He actually pushes the plot forward in a lot of good ways. And despite Velma being the intelligent one of the group, if Shaggy wasn't there to actually say, hey, this all lines up into my theory that he could be the murderer, I truly don't think Velma could solve a single mystery in this show without Norville. Secondly, I have to give it to the artist of the show. The art is not bad in any sense of the word to me. It is a great animation style, and the backgrounds, when digging through and watching the show, I love to watch it twice and see what's going on in the background just to see the little hidden Easter eggs that are going through it. Because the background artists did a hell of a good job. Because not only did the background artists do a great job, I truly believe if they had the writing capability of the show, it would have been a decent show. Moving on to the voice cast. Now, there are a ton of really good A-list celebrities in this voice cast. So much so that, the talent surprises me when I was looking at this list, from Brenda Sykes to literally the coach from Glee. But saying that makes me wonder, if we have these A-list great voice actors, why are they relegated to just the background characters? Because truthfully speaking, the voice acting that's given from Velma and Daphne feels not only deadpan and unenthusiastic about the project that they're reading, but just feels bad. Like, it just truly feels bad. But like I said, looking for positive things, I have to give it to the background characters. The original actor of Fred be Fred's dad, I thought that was a great choice in stylistic wise, and I love seeing him on the camera. I love seeing all the parents on the camera, if I'm being honest, because again, they're one of the few funny things about this cringy show. Despite the clear disdain for the source material, there's a lot of small references to the older Hanna-Barbera works that feel funny and well placed within the show, going from Inch High Private Eye to stuff like Mumbly and a lot of other really cool references when Daphne's looking for her private eye to help her with her case. It's like that little detail makes a huge thing for me. I was actually super excited when I saw that. I was like, man, again, I have to give it up to the artist because I think that's such a cool way to add these things in that it really makes the show kind of feel watchable to a degree. So let me just go and put this out there. The murder mystery in this show is actually not bad. Mostly because it feels intriguing. It feels like there's a lot of loose ends that can be followed throughout it. And as you get to the 3rd and 4th episode, it does feel more and more watchable as you go. With the added caveat that it feels like a background plot. Like, despite them saying, hey, they're solving real murder mysteries and this is the primary focus of the show, it really feels like it's not. It feels like that Velma herself does not care whatsoever about the murders actually happening. She cares more about figuring out where her mom is and her relationship with Daphne than she does actually solving any mystery revolving the murders happening in Crystal Cove. And number 6, I gotta say, there seems like a lot of possible character growth going further into the episodes, with specifically Norville and Daphne. And I have to stress that it feels like it's more for Norville and Daphne, just for the fact that, like, Norville is a great character in this show. He can honestly stand out amongst all of them. And as he gets deeper into the mystery, seeing how he's the only one wanting to solve the mystery, he grows pretty decently, pretty quickly, but not in an unrealistic way. While Daphne, she has actually good character motivation trying to find her original birth parents and try to figure out her own shit. It doesn't feel bad to root for those two characters despite all the cringe and jokes that never land in the show. Those are two that I would say, hey, watch out for them because they might make the show interesting. But again, you have to get past Velma to even get to that character growth. And when I say Velma, I mean like the main character of the show, not the title of the show, because hey, it's hard to root for that character in any possible way. Number 7, I have to point this out just because I feel like it's something that a lot of people like they look at and they hate on super quickly. The hallucinations that Velma experienced, while being a horrible narrative device that feels like they don't know what they actually want to do with the character, are truly stunning to look at, and with how they're animated inside the show. Like, it's literally feels like the animation team is stretching their creative muscles when they're creating these designs. Super great, 10 out of 10. Honestly, if they're just a little bit more narratively better, they would make sense. But visually, it's great. Visually, I forget that I'm watching a terrible show when I'm looking at some of the art design of the show. So again, talking about Velma, I feel like the negatives are a huge thing that people have mentioned and like really beat to death of a dead horse. I have to point them out in my own review just because there are so many. So just like starting off, again, this show classifies itself as a comedy, but to be honest with you, while watching it, the only thing that made me laugh was when I started like poking through the background. Jokes never feel like they land, and they always feel like they're always attacking a really weird group of people, whether it be attacking their main audience or just like blatantly making opinions that are so vague and weird. Even the opening statement Vilma makes inside the show, where like only hot men with already too much power gain more power, is like the definition of an origin story. And if it's a woman, she's just crazy. Makes absolutely no sense to me in any which way. Like even looking at something like the MCU, where it's like become extremely female lead driven in the past phase or so, there are a lot of powerful women in animation nowadays that have great origin stories that do not involve them being crazy. So it feels like a really weird opinion to stand on when you're making a show like this. And it doesn't land. Their primary focus on jokes always feels like a meta commentary of like, hey, don't you hate when the show does this? It's so cringe and unwatchable whenever they do this while doing this. And then stares into the camera to try to let us in that it's a joke. But it feels so bad and so cringeworthy that it makes it really unbearable when those moments happen. Number 2, I'm putting this as the second one because I feel like it's got to be said. Velma is the worst part of this show. Like, her character is so unlikable and so hard to root for. It feels like she is the antagonist to her own life. Number 3, Shaggy is a Dare program secret spy. Obviously, the joke has been made before in the past where Shaggy is a stoner and that the Mystery Machine, has that 70s vibe for a reason. But it's just a joke from the fans. But to harp on that joke made by the fans a long time ago to say, hey, Shaggy is not only not a stoner, but he is like the definition of what the Dare program wanted to create. A guy who truly hates drugs but knows about the drug culture. It's like, man, he is something else. Number 4, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. The character assassinations in the show, and what I mean by that, it's like you took the characters that are recognizable, known, and loved, you remake them in a new way, and they're still recognizable. So they're still that character. I truly believe in the character design philosophy that as long as I can recognize that this character is this character, no matter how you draw or redesign this character, it's still that character for me. Just using a good example, with Velma, as long as Velma is wearing a orange sweater, red skirt, and square glasses, I generally recognize that character as, hey, this is supposed to be Velma, no matter what the case is. But to then take that character, completely strip their personalities of anything redeemable, and just make them, honestly, horrible menaces to society. And yes, I'm looking at Fred when I say that. It's like, man, that is a full-blown character assassination, saying, hey, we not only did we not like Scooby-Doo, but we really don't like the characters that we're having to write and represent. Number 5, lazy writing. The story feels forced in a lot of ways. Like, obviously speaking, we'll go from a weird, cringy moment where Daphne is trying to kill another girl inside the locker room to Velma trying to kill Daphne to Velma finding a dead body in her locker. It's like the utter shock factor inside this show and just the laziness of not only the writing, the comedy side of the show, but writing the actual plot of the show feels so outlandishly out there that it almost desensitizes you from everything that they can possibly throw at you in the future. So I do want to go into my final thoughts about the show, where obviously it is a bad show. If I was honestly to give it a proper rating, I would say it's a 3 out of 10. But truthfully speaking, I feel like that's on purpose. Or I've mentioned that the writers definitely hate the source material, and it definitely feels like the writers even hate us for watching their show. I would almost suspect that the first episodes were written in a way to be so controversial and so bad that would make the audience want to watch it just to make fun of it or just to hate on it. Even saying that, hey, a lot of content creators like myself went to watch this whole show just to review it and make fun of it. But again, I feel like it gets better as it goes, where episodes 1 and 2 were so terrible, but episodes 3 and 4 almost felt watchable for the background itself. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that the main cast of the characters are so badly written in a lot of ways that it's hard to believe that they're going to have any meaningful character growth to make the show last. But with 6 more episodes on the way, who knows? Maybe my theory is correct. Maybe the show gets so much better within episodes 5 and 6, and even better than that in episodes 7 and 8. But I guess we'll find out, since HBO Max has already renewed the show for a second season. I guess despite the backlash, it is here to stay. And I guess I'll continue to make theories about it and continue to make videos about it going forward. If you want to force me and Chicken to watch more of this show as it comes out, and honestly let you know our opinions as it goes, feel free to leave a like down below, and we'll try to make more content like this. Because this video wasn't terrible to make, it wasn't bad to review. It's honestly something I wanted to do a long time ago, but it's different, and trying new things is always weird, like making an adult Scooby-Doo show. Yeah, guys, y'all have a great day, and thank y'all for watching.